The cafeteria on Station Helix smelled like burnt synthetic protein and regret. I'd been stationed here for 3 cycles now, working security detail, and nothing, absolutely nothing, ever happened. The most excitement we got was when Cadet Morvik accidentally launched his lunch tray into zero-gravity mode last month. Thrilling stuff, really. My name is Varn, and I'm what the humans call a Quellan. Think 8 feet tall, scales like polished stone, 4 eyes that can see in about 6 different spectrums. Impressive, right? Wrong. Because here I am, watching a bunch of trainees shovel food into their faces while I count down the hours until my shift ends. The Academy attracted species from 47 different systems. We had relics, with their tentacles constantly getting stuck in doorways, Mothar, who needed special low-gravity chairs, and then the humans. Oh, the humans. They'd only been part of the Galactic Coalition for maybe 20 standard years, which in cosmic terms is like showing up to a party 5 minutes ago. Still thought they were hot stuff because they'd figured out faster-than-light travel on their own. Big deal. Everyone figures it out eventually, assuming they don't blow themselves up first. The human section of the cafeteria was always the loudest. They had this obnoxious habit of something they called laughing. These weird barking noises that seemed to serve no evolutionary purpose whatsoever. Right now, about 15 of them were clustered around their usual tables, making exactly those noises. "You see those new humans?" my partner Kelix asked, mandibles clicking together in what passed for Vrelian conversation. "Batch just arrived yesterday." I glanced over. Sure enough, there was a fresh group, still wearing those crisp new uniforms that screamed, "Rookie." They sat together, separate from the veteran human cadets, looking around with those weird little forward-facing eyes like nervous prey animals. One of them caught my attention, though. She was small, even by human standards. Maybe 5.5 feet, which I'd learned was short for them. Dark hair pulled back tight, brown skin, and this utterly blank expression on her face while chaos erupted around her. While her fellow newbies were gawking at every alien species like tourists, she just ate, methodically, like she had better things to think about. "Hey, Kelix," I said. "Credits say the new batch doesn't last 2 weeks before someone washes out. You're on. Humans are stubborn little things. Annoying, but stubborn." We both knew the real entertainment would start soon. See, there was this Dravix cadet named Kroll, who'd made it his personal mission to ensure everyone knew exactly how inferior humans were. Dravix were big, probably 9 feet standing straight, with these ridiculous horn arrangements on their heads that they thought made them look intimidating. Mostly, they just looked like they'd lost a fight with a furniture store. Kroll had this whole superiority complex thing going. His species had been spacefaring for 3,000 years. They'd conquered 17 systems before the Coalition politely suggested they stop conquering things or face some serious economic sanctions. Now they just conquered feelings instead. Right on schedule, Kroll and his little posse of equally charming individuals swaggered toward the human section. And I do mean swaggered. This guy had clearly watched too many human action movies and mistook arrogance for personality. "Oh, here we go," Kelix muttered. "Should we?" "Nah, Academy rules. Cadets handle their own social dynamics unless actual violence breaks out. Besides, might be funny." I know. Great security officer, right? But you have to understand, after 3 cycles of absolutely nothing happening, you take entertainment where you can get it. Kroll stopped right behind that quiet human girl, the small one with the blank expression. She was sitting alone now. Her group had gone to get seconds, apparently. Tactical error. leaving her isolated. "This seat taken, little human?" Kroll's voice had that particular tone bullies throughout the galaxy seemed to share. That fake politeness covering obvious contempt. The girl looked up slowly. "Yes, actually. My friends are coming back." Her voice was flat, controlled, almost bored. Kroll laughed, this rumbling sound that made his whole massive frame shake. His buddies joined in, because of course they did. Bullies travel in packs, another universal constant. Friends. You've been here one day. You don't have friends, you have fellow rejects, who'll wash out just as fast as you will. The girl returned to her food. Just went back to eating. Like Kroll wasn't even there. Oh, that made him mad. I could see his face plates flush that particular shade of purple that meant a Dravik's ego had just taken damage. Nothing made a bully angrier than being ignored. "I'm talking to you, human." I noticed. She took another bite. "I'm choosing not to engage with it." Kellex made a choking sound beside me. "Did she just—" "Yeah," I said, suddenly much more interested. "She did." Kroll's hand slammed down on the table, making trays jump. Around the cafeteria, conversations started dying out. Everyone loved drama, apparently, regardless of species. "You need to learn some respect," Kroll growled. "Your species might have some fancy ships, but you're still primitives playing in a universe that's been civilized for millennia." The girl finally looked up again, met his eyes, all four of his eyes actually, which was impressive because most humans found multiple eyes disorienting. "Are you done? Because my food's getting cold, and unlike some species here, humans actually have functioning taste buds to appreciate it." Oh no, she really just said that. The cafeteria went completely silent. Draviks were notoriously sensitive about their weak olfactory and taste senses. It was like this human girl had reached into a book, titled How to Infuriate a Draviks, and picked the chapter marked Ultimate Insults. Kroll's face went from purple to almost black. "What did you say to me?" She stood up. Even standing, she barely came up to his chest. It should have been comical. Somehow, it wasn't. "I said your taste buds are basically decorative. Was I unclear? I can use smaller words if you need me to." Around us, other humans had started paying attention. The veteran cadets, the ones who'd been here a while, were getting this look. This particular expression I'd learned to recognize over my time here. It was the look humans got right before something either incredibly stupid or incredibly entertaining happened. "Listen here, you little—" Kroll reached out, grabbed her shoulder, and shoved. Not hard enough to really hurt, probably, but hard enough to make her stumble back a step. Hard enough to cross several lines. The girl caught herself, straightened, and smiled. Actually smiled. "Yeah, okay. I was hoping to avoid this on day one, but sure. Let's do this the fun way." Kroll laughed again, because of course he did. Here was this tiny human, coming up maybe to his chest, acting like she had any chance in a physical confrontation. "What are you going to do? Bite my ankles?" "Nah," she said, rolling her shoulders. "I'm going to educate you." That's when I noticed it. When she moved, her uniform sleeve rode up just slightly on her left arm. There was something there. Markings, colors, what humans called a tattoo, injecting pigment under their skin in decorative patterns, because apparently humans would rather be colorful than sensible. But this wasn't just decoration, it was intricate, professional. A design that incorporated what looked like stars, but arranged in a pattern Wait, I knew that pattern. Those specific stars, that particular arrangement. It was the Andromeda constellation, but viewed from a very specific set of coordinates. Coordinates that corresponded to Oh, no. Kellex, I said quietly. We might need to intervene. Why? She pushed him. Well, he pushed first, but still. Let them sort it out. Look at her arm. Kellex's multiple eyes focused, trying to make out the details from our distance. It's just human body art. They all have those. Saw one with a picture of Earth food on his torso last week. Bizarre species. That's not just body art. That's a military insignia. A specific one. So, lots of cadets have military background? Not that military. Kellex, those stars, that's the Alpha Force designation. Kellex went very still. Alpha Force? The Alpha Force? The completely unhinged human special operations unit that took out that Krill battleship with nothing but improvised explosives and what they call sheer audacity? The same ones who held the line at Proxima Station against 300 Vraxian troops for 16 hours, while evacuation ships got civilians out. The absolute lunatics who somehow survived that black hole mission everyone said was mathematically impossible? Those exact lunatics, yes. We both turned back to the confrontation, which had progressed considerably while we'd been having our revelation. Kroll had apparently decided that since intimidation wasn't working, he'd try direct physical contact again. He'd grabbed the girl's uniform collar, lifting her slightly off the ground. Big mistake. The girl moved so fast I almost missed it. One moment she was dangling there, the next her hand had locked onto Kroll's wrist, her body twisted, and Kroll, all 9 feet and 400 pounds of him, was suddenly airborne. He hit the ground with a crash that echoed through the cafeteria. The impact was hard enough that I felt the vibration through the floor plating. Complete. Total. Silence. Kroll lay there, stunned, staring up at the ceiling with all 4 eyes wide in shock. The girl stood over him, not even breathing hard. Human physiology lesson, she said conversationally, like she was discussing the weather. We evolved as pursuit predators on a high-gravity world. Our bone density is absurd by galactic standards. Our muscle efficiency is wasteful, but effective. And our nervous system is wired for violence in ways most civilized species bred out millennia ago. She crouched down next to him, and I noticed several other humans had moved closer, forming a loose circle. Not threatening exactly, just present. Second lesson, the girl continued. That tattoo you didn't bother looking at before you decided to push someone half your size? It commemorates someone. Someone important. Someone who taught me everything she knew before she died, holding a line that everyone said couldn't be held. Kroll tried to get up. The girl put one hand on his chest, gently, almost, and he stopped moving. Her name was Commander Lisa Ortega. Maybe you've heard of her? Led the 3rd assault at Kepler Station. The one where 47 humans held off an army because retreat wasn't an option and surrender wasn't in the vocabulary? Oh no. Commander Ortega. Everyone knew that name. She was legendary, and not in the fun way. In the this person accomplished things that violate several laws of physics and probability way. She gave me this tattoo herself, the girl said, tapping her arm. Right before her last deployment. Told me it would remind me what humans are capable of when someone mistakes kindness for weakness, restraint for inability, or silence for surrender. She stood up, looked around at the crowd that had gathered. I came here to learn, to train, to be part of something bigger than Earth, bigger than humanity. I'm happy to do that peacefully, cooperatively, enthusiastically even. Her voice dropped, got colder. But if someone decides to test me, to push me because they think humans are soft, new, inferior. She looked down at Kroll. Then they're going to learn exactly why Commander Ortega's last words to our unit were, "Don't start fights, but by God, finish them." One of the veteran human cadets, a tall guy with scars on his face, started clapping. Slowly at first, then faster. Other humans joined in. Then, surprisingly, some of the non-humans did too. Even a few Vreliks, though they were making their clicking approval sounds instead. I looked at Kelix. We should probably file a report. About what? I didn't see any violence. Just saw a cadet accidentally trip and fall. Happens all the time in these crowded cafeterias. You're terrible at your job. Says the guy who took bets on how long humans would last. The girl helped Kroll up. Actually helped him, extended her hand, and pulled him to his feet. He looked absolutely mortified, his face plates cycling through about 6 different colors that all meant variations of embarrassment. "No hard feelings," she said. "Well, no permanent ones anyway. You wanted to know what humans are about? Now you know. We're about loyalty, memory, and making sure the people who came before us aren't forgotten." She turned to walk back to her table, where her friends had returned and were staring with expressions ranging from shock to admiration. "Wait," Kroll said, his voice much smaller than before. "What's your name?" The girl looked back over her shoulder. "Cadet Maya Reeves. Formerly Sergeant Maya Reeves, Terran Defense Force, 3rd Regiment, Alpha Company. And before you ask, yes, I took a voluntary demotion to attend this academy, because Commander Ortega believed in what the Coalition could be, and I'm here to honor that belief." She paused. "But I'm still very much the person she trained, so maybe next time someone sees a quiet human sitting alone, they should consider that maybe we're not scared. Maybe we're not weak. Maybe we're just trying really hard to be civilized and would appreciate not having that patience tested." With that, she sat back down and resumed eating like nothing had happened. The cafeteria slowly came back to life, conversations restarting, though now with considerably more energy and speculation. Kroll and his friends retreated to their corner, looking significantly less confident than they had 5 minutes ago. "You know what?" Kelix said. "I think I just lost those credits." "How? She didn't wash out." "No, but I don't think any of that batch will. Not after that. That was a statement. That was a human, basically, planting a flag and saying, 'This is how we do things.'" I watched Maya Reeves finish her meal, laugh at something one of her friends said, completely relaxed now, like she hadn't just thrown a being twice her size across a room and delivered a speech that would probably be repeated across the academy for cycles to come. "You know what the scary part is?" I said. "What?" "She was Alpha Force, emphasis on was, which means she's not even currently active in the most dangerous military unit humanity has. She's just a regular veteran who decided to become a cadet." Kelix thought about that. "So what you're saying is—" "What I'm saying is, if that's what a regular human veteran can do, the ones who are still active Alpha Force, the current operators—" We both looked at each other, a shared moment of understanding passing between species, between perspectives, between 2 security officers who'd just watched their entire understanding of humans shift. "Yeah," Kelix said. "I'm buying you those credits I lost." "Why?" "Because I'm going to need you on duty with me every shift until I get used to the fact that we have actual predators training in this academy. And not the metaphorical kind. The kind that honor their dead by carrying their memory on their skin and their lessons in their bones." I couldn't argue with that logic. Maya Reeves finished her meal, disposed of her tray properly, nodded to a few other cadets, and walked out of the cafeteria like she owned the place, Which, honestly, after that display, maybe she did. "This is going to be an interesting assignment," I muttered. Define interesting. I mean terrifying, but in that way where you can't look away. Kellick's mandibles clicked in agreement. Humans. Humans, I confirmed. And that, I thought, was just day one of Maya Reeves at the Academy. Something told me the next few cycles were going to be significantly less boring than the previous 3. Whether that was a good thing remained to be seen. 3 days passed before the next incident, which was honestly longer than I'd expected. Apparently, word travels fast when someone launches a Dravix across a cafeteria, because Maya Reeves had developed something of a reputation. The kind where other cadets gave her a respectful amount of space. Not fear, exactly. More like the acknowledgement you'd give a sleeping predator. Polite distance. But reputations work both ways. Kroll hadn't shown his face much since the incident, which meant his ego was probably fermenting somewhere dark and angry. Meanwhile, Maya had settled into academy life like she'd been here for months, instead of days. She excelled in tactical simulations, aced her xenobiology assessments, and somehow made friends with a Mothar named Pillick, who everyone else avoided because he smelled like sulfur and old boots. "She's doing too well," Kellick observed during our morning patrol of the training halls. "It's making certain people nervous. Certain people being Kroll and his fan club? Them, yes, but also some of the instructors. Heard Commander Thaxil complaining that she answers questions before he finishes asking them. Says it's disruptive." I snorted, which sounds weird coming from a Kellen, but trust me, we can do it. Thaxil is disrupted by competence? That's rich coming from someone who once got lost in his own lecture about navigation. The morning combat drills were starting in Training Hall 7, which was basically a huge multi-environment arena where cadets learned to fight in everything from zero gravity to underwater conditions. Today's exercise was hand-to-hand qualification rounds. Standard auto-freity stuff. Each cadet had to demonstrate proficiency against 3 different species types to pass. The hall was packed. Apparently, everyone wanted to see how the human who'd flattened Kroll would handle official combat assessment. Maya was stretching in the prep area, utterly focused. She'd tied her hair back even tighter, and I could see that tattoo clearly now. The stars, the designation markers, all of it. A memorial and a warning wrapped into one piece of art. Her first match was against a Quellen, actually. Not me, thank the void, but a younger security officer named Drix, who volunteered as an assessment partner. Drix was good, well-trained, about 7 feet tall with reflexes that had gotten him through the academy with honors. The match lasted maybe 40 seconds. Maya moved like water, like something that couldn't be pinned down or predicted. Every time Drix thought he had her positioned, she was somewhere else. She used his reach against him, his strength against him, his expectations against him. When she finally put him down, it was with this beautiful throw that incorporated his own momentum so efficiently that he basically defeated himself. Drix got up laughing. "Void, take me. They teach all humans to fight like that?" Maya helped him up, grinning. "Nah, just the ones stubborn enough to survive Alpha Force selection. You're good, though. That feint in the middle almost got me." "Almost doesn't count in combat." "Sure it does. Almost means you're learning. Learning means next time you'll be better." The respect in that exchange was something beautiful to watch. This was how the academy was supposed to work. Different species learning from each other, building understanding through shared challenge. Her second match was against Avrelian, one of Kellick's cousins actually, and again Maya adapted perfectly. She fought from range, avoiding those tentacles, using speed and unpredictability. 1 in under a minute, 2 down, 1 to go. That's when Instructor Thaxil called out the final pairing. Cadet Reeves, your third assessment will be against Cadet Kroll. The entire hall went silent. Kellex and I looked at each other. That's not random, I said quietly. Definitely not random. Thaxil's been taking credits from Kroll's family for years. Everyone knows it. Should we intervene? On what grounds? It's a legitimate assessment pairing. Down in the arena, Maya's expression hadn't changed. She just nodded, rolled her shoulders once, and walked to the center mat. Kroll emerged from the other side, and I'll give him credit. He looked focused. Less arrogant than before. More dangerous, actually. Because arrogance makes you stupid, but anger makes you sharp. Assessment rules apply, Thaxil announced, sounding way too pleased with himself. Match continues until submission, incapacitation, or instructor intervention. Medical teams are standing by. That last part was supposed to be reassuring. Somehow it wasn't. The match started. Kroll came in fast, trying to use his size advantage immediately. But Maya had already proven size didn't matter much to her. She slipped his first grab, countered with a strike to his knee joint that made him stumble, then disengaged before he could retaliate. You got lucky last time, Kroll growled. Caught me by surprise. Maya didn't respond, just moved, circling, evaluating. Kroll charged again, this time with better technique. Credit where due, he'd been training since their last encounter. His movements were tighter, more controlled. He managed to catch her arm, used his strength to try pulling her into a grapple. Bad move. Maya went with the pull instead of against it, used the momentum to get inside his guard, and delivered 3 rapid strikes to pressure points that made Kroll's entire right side spasm. He released her immediately, backing away, breathing hard. You're better than before, Maya said, still circling. Been practicing. That's good. Shows you learned something. Shut up and fight. I am fighting. You're just not winning. Kroll roared, literally roared, this deep bass sound that rattled equipment, and came at her with everything he had. No more technique, no more control, just rage and muscle and desperation. Maya dropped low, swept his legs, and as he fell she moved with him, controlling his descent, and suddenly had him in some kind of lock that made his arm bend in directions arms probably shouldn't bend. Yield, she said quietly. Never. Kroll, your pride isn't worth a broken arm. Yield. I said never. She applied more pressure. I could see the strain in Kroll's face, see him fighting against the pain. This was stupid, so incredibly stupid. Final chance, Maya warned. I don't want to hurt you. This doesn't prove anything except that you're too stubborn to recognize when you're beaten. Then I guess I'm stubborn, Kroll gasped out. Something changed in Maya's expression. Not anger, exactly. More like resignation. All right then, lesson 2. She shifted her grip slightly, did something with her legs, and suddenly Kroll was completely immobilized. Not just held, but positioned, so that any movement he made would cause himself pain. It was masterful, actually. A hold that made the opponent their own worst enemy. This is called empathy submission, Maya said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Developed by human combat instructors specifically for training purposes. The person in this hold can't be forced to submit. They can only submit themselves. It teaches a valuable lesson about recognizing reality versus ego. Kroll struggled, stopped when pain shot through his shoulder, struggled again with the same result. You can stay here as long as you want, Maya continued. I can hold this for hours if needed, but every second you stay is a second you're choosing pain over wisdom, ego over growth. Your call. The silence in the hall was absolute. Everyone watched, waiting. 30 seconds passed. A minute. 2 minutes. Kroll's face cycled through every color in the Dravik's emotional spectrum. Rage, shame, frustration, pain. And finally, something that might have been understanding. "I yield," he whispered. "Can't hear you," Thaxil called out, because of course he couldn't let Kroll maintain even that small dignity. "I said I yield," Kroll shouted it this time, the words echoing through the hall. Maya released him immediately, moved back, offered her hand to help him up. Kroll stared at that hand for a long moment. Then, slowly, he took it. As she pulled him to his feet, Maya said something too quiet for most people to hear. "But I have really good hearing, remember? 4 eyes and excellent ears. You're strong, you're skilled, and you've got potential. But strength without discipline is just violence, and violence without purpose is just cruelty. Commander Ortega taught me that. Consider it passed along." Kroll stood there, breathing hard, looking at this human who'd now beaten him twice, and somehow made it feel like a lesson instead of a defeat. "Why?" he asked. "Why teach me anything? I've been nothing but hostile to you and your kind." Maya shrugged. "Because that's what Alpha Force does. We protect, we teach, and we remember that everyone we meet is someone's cherished person. You're a bully and kind of an ass, but you're also someone's son, someone's friend, probably." Ortega believed everyone deserves a chance to be better than their worst moment. I'm honoring that belief. She turned to walk away, then paused. Plus, honestly, holding grudges is exhausting. I've got actual studying to do. The hall erupted in noise. Cadets from multiple species talking, arguing, analyzing what they'd just seen. Thaxil looked like he'd just swallowed something unpleasant, which was probably his plan backfiring spectacularly. Kellex nudged me. "Did that human just turn a grudge match into a teaching moment?" "I think she did. Yeah. That's the most aggressively peaceful thing I've ever witnessed." Welcome to humans. They're complicated. The next few weeks transformed the Academy in ways I hadn't expected. Maya became something of an unofficial instructor. Cadets from all species would ask her questions about combat technique, about strategy, about that weird human concept called improvisation. She answered everyone patiently, demonstrated techniques, helped struggling students. Kroll, surprisingly, became one of her regular training partners. Turned out when you stripped away his ego and entitlement, he was actually pretty dedicated. They'd spar most evenings, trading techniques, learning from each other. It was weird watching them go from enemies to something approaching friendship. Character development, Maya called it when I asked. Everyone's capable of it if given the right motivation and support. That's optimistic. That's practical. Would you rather have him as an enemy or an ally when we all graduate and end up serving together? Because that's the actual choice here. I hadn't thought of it that way. But she was right, of course. The Academy wasn't just about training. It was about building the future of the Coalition, one relationship at a time. Final assessments arrived faster than expected. The big test, a week-long simulation where cadet teams had to complete a series of escalating challenges. Combat, diplomacy, engineering problems, medical emergencies, all of it designed to push cadets to their limits. Maya's team was randomly assigned. Herself, Kroll, Pillock the Mothar, a Vrelian named Tiska, and a human named James Park. On paper, they were a disaster. Former enemies, species with conflicting communication styles, different skill sets. In practice, they dominated. I watched their simulation feeds with growing amazement. Maya led not by commanding, but by coordinating. She positioned each team member where their strengths mattered most. Kroll handled heavy combat and intimidation. Pillik used his engineering genius to solve technical problems. Tiska's tentacle dexterity managed delicate tasks. James provided tactical analysis and medical support. When they hit an impossible scenario, a hostage situation with no good options, Maya did something that made me laugh out loud. She improvised a solution so ridiculous, so absolutely human, that it worked through sheer audacity. Convinced the hostage-takers they were being monitored by a nearby fleet, used Pillik to fake sensor readings, had Kroll make threatening noises in the background while she negotiated, and somehow talked their way out without firing a shot. Commander Ortega would have been proud. Their team finished first overall. Not just first in their class, first in Academy history for that particular simulation. The previous record had stood for 40 years. At the graduation ceremony 2 months later, Maya stood with her class, wearing that uniform with her tattoo visible, proud. When they called her name, the applause was thunderous. Not just from humans, but from everyone. Kroll applauded loudest of all. After the ceremony, I found her outside, looking up at the stars through the station viewport. "Congratulations, Lieutenant Reeves," I said. "Heard you got assigned to Coalition Rapid Response." "Thanks. Yeah, elite unit. Exactly what I wanted." "Your commander would be proud." Maya touched her tattoo, smiled softly. "I hope so. She taught me that being strong means lifting others up, not pushing them down. That real courage is choosing patience when anger would be easier. That the best way to honor the fallen is to build the future they fought for." Is that what the tattoo means? All of it? Every star represents someone from our unit who didn't make it home. Every line connects them, shows how we supported each other. And these coordinates? She traced them gently. These mark the exact location where Commander Ortega held that final line. So I never forget where I come from, what I'm fighting for, or who taught me that strength and kindness aren't opposites, they're partners. Kroll appeared behind us, looking uncertain. "Am I interrupting?" "Never," Maya said warmly. "What's up?" "I just wanted to say thanks for not giving up on me, for teaching me that being strong doesn't mean being cruel." "You taught yourself that. I just provided some motivation." "Painful motivation." "The best kind," Maya grinned. "You going to keep in touch?" "If you'll let me. I've been assigned to Frontier Security. Could use someone to occasionally remind me not to be an ass." "I think that's what friends are for." They shook hands, human style, which Kroll had learned, and for a moment I saw what Commander Ortega must have seen in Maya. Not just a soldier, but a builder. Someone who fought when necessary, but preferred to create bridges instead of burning them. The Academy would see thousands more cadets cycle through. Hundreds of species, millions of individuals, all learning to work together. But I think Maya Reeves left something important behind. Proof that the best way to honor your heroes isn't through revenge or superiority, but by embodying the values they died protecting. Also, a permanent record in the simulation database that would taunt competitive cadets for generations. But mostly, the values thing. "You know what?" Kellick said, appearing beside me. "I'm glad we didn't intervene that first day." "Because she handled it better than we would have?" "Because she turned what could have been an incident into a movement. Look around. Humans and Draviks training together. Species that usually avoid each other cooperating. All because one small human with a tattoo decided that teaching was better than punishing." He was right. The academy had changed, subtly but definitely. More cooperation, less segregation. More respect, less prejudice. Think we'll see more like her? I asked. More humans, definitely. Humanity's just getting started out here. I meant more people who lead by example instead of authority. Kellex considered that. I think Maya Reeves proved that leadership isn't about being the biggest or the strongest or the oldest species in the coalition. It's about being someone others want to follow because you make them better versions of themselves. Maya waved goodbye, heading off with her friends, multiple species, all of them laughing about something probably ridiculous. Her tattoo caught the light one last time, those stars gleaming, a reminder of sacrifice transformed into inspiration. And somewhere in the universe, I like to think Commander Lisa Ortega was smiling, knowing that her lessons hadn't died with her. They'd been carried forward, tattooed into flesh and memory, by a cadet who understood that the best way to honor a legend wasn't to become them. It was to teach others what they taught you, and trust that kindness multiplied is stronger than any weapon ever forged. Even if you had to throw a few bullies across cafeterias to make the point first. Humans. Complicated, contradictory, and absolutely unstoppable when they decided something mattered. I wouldn't bet against them ever again.